When you do that, you put out a certain energy. And people with narcissistic personality disorder, again, not a mental health practitioner, but I have studied certain personality disorders to understand certain people in my past. And I am very well informed. I could give you guys a few resources if you need some true psychological leaders in the community. Two off the top of my head is Patrick Tian and Dr. Ramani. They're both really good. And also somebody who is not a therapist, but she's kind of like me, but older generation. And sorry, man, I didn't mean to make it sound like, oh yeah, she's old. I don't mean that. If you ever hear this, I apologize. But she goes by the Crappy Childhood Fairy. Her name's Anna Runkle. Yeah. So if you guys are looking to like understand more about like childhood trauma and narcissistic abuse and like what that does to people, or like stigmas to break around that, I highly recommend those 3 people on YouTube. So when people are trying to get supply, which is not the same as support, they're trying to gain someone else's energy. I mean, that's why people call people like that energy vampires, because they are trying to, it fills them up. And true narcissistic, sociopathic, or psychopathic people, I wouldn't, not, the 3 are actually not all the same. Some can be one with the other and others can't be the other. Again, check out psychologists' content to learn more. But I think it's more like some people do feed off of that. They feed off of the drama of it, is like layman's terms, but it's deeper than that. It comes from what people don't understand about narcissistic people. And considering we live in our material world, which, not to make myself sound elite, but I don't really live in I don't operate from the same mode as most people, because I'm a spiritual person, and I know other spiritual people can relate to that. But there's just this low-level energy. It's draining. And they're usually draining other people, but the thing that doesn't get talked about is they're draining themselves. They drain themselves with their self-hate and their lack of knowing. And narcissism typically is actually stemmed also from childhood trauma. There's usually 2 different splits you can see in the development. And this is, again, you should look up some research on these things. But I'm speaking from years of researching the topic myself, trying to understand some things about other people. But narcissists and empaths are opposites on the same spectrum. And the weird thing is that like they can be confused, like people who don't really understand the difference. Empaths are desperate to be seen and understood for who they are because they've been gaslit and invalidated their whole life, whereas narcissists are so deeply wounded and insecure, they overcompensate and feed off of other people to fill up the absence in which they have within themselves. So that's like the easiest way I can break down what that is. And both can be toxic. Again, light and shadow, y'all. I'm always going to be upfront with you. Always. You think that I'm perfect? You think that I just like ascended to this meditative, strong, intelligent person because I had an easy life? No. Just give you a quick little detail about my childhood, and I don't want to get too into it, and this wasn't necessarily the core of my trauma, but it had a huge effect on me, okay? It also is very interesting if you look into Scorpio South Node placements, and it will actually make a lot of sense if you understand evolutionary astrology and my process and where I've come from and where I'm at. I was born and raised